Hello, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and today we are going to work on the heavy club alternating Shinbox front press. Most people in the modern world have back pain. Back pain tends to be related to the joints above or below the spine, the hips specifically, and the shoulders, opposite sides of the spine. If you do heavy clubs, on accident, you tend to fix your shoulders and your hips, but most people in the modern world need more extreme hip mobility training in order to make sure that their spine continues to work well for long periods of time. The easiest way to do that is to introduce rotation into the hips. This is an exercise called Shinbox, where we sit down on the ground, we level our hips to the ground, we drop our knees to one side, and we try to get our spine vertical by opening up space inside the hip. We do this with weights, the alternating balance Shinbox, but we can take it a step further than that by adding a front press. The front press is an exercise unique to heavy club swinging. It's where we press our arms straight out in front with our top hand level with the bottom of our nose. This allows us to engage our core as hard as possible in the standing position. This is not something that's done in the gym. It's not a bench press. A bench press is lying down, pushing a big heavy weight up. This is not in kettlebells for the most part because kettlebells are substantially heavier than heavy clubs. Heavy clubs sit in a range of weight, of useful weight. Think at the low end 10 pounds, at the high end 50 pounds, until you get to heavy clubs where you get from say 50 to 100 pound club. Most people are gonna work in that 10 to say 25 pound range for the majority of their life and get all the benefit from the exercise. By pressing a weight straight out in front, you force your core to engage in the standing position. That's the important part. Getting your core to work with your feet on the ground and your body standing up for ranges of movement that you normally do. You do this one almost every day in some way. You open the fridge, you reach in, you grab a gallon of milk, you pull it out, you put it back. It's not often trained, but it is something that needs to be done. We're gonna take that front press, we're gonna shove it on top of a Shinbox, and you're going to get an excellent core training exercise combined with a loaded hip mobility exercise. If you play any sport, this is good for you. The better your hips work, the better your shoulders work, the stronger your core is in a spine vertical position, the better you can be at everything and the more pain-free your life can be. To get down to the ground, step back, put one knee on the ground, take the hand of that down leg, put your hand on the ground, sit all the way down and through. This gets us into a seated hip position. The Shinbox distance is important. The distance between your feet is the distance from your ankle to your knee. So that when we go into our Shinbox, we don't have to move our feet. Our knee lies down at the instep of that lead leg. One hip is usually worse than the other. This hip does not feel great today. I'm going to use this hand, pull this hip down towards the ground. The other way to do it is to take the lead leg, rear leg, lead leg, hand, put it close to the hip, drive down, force your spine vertical, and that will drive this hip down into the ground. Check this movement first. If this hip is way up off of the ground and your spine is rolled, your shoulders are not level, practice the more basic versions of this exercise before you do this alternating front press. Check both sides. When we come up, our feet did not move, we stack to the other side. This side feels better. Hip drives down, spine is as vertical as possible. Engage the lats. You can reach out with this hand, grab that shin, pull yourself in to get more stretch in the hip. Come back to our neutral stance in the middle. The distance here is important. Get your club in between your legs. We are going to pick it up in this position. Elbows track inside. The balance alt Shinbox means that we are not doing the front press. We are holding the club in balance. We are changing from one side, back to neutral, to the other side, back to neutral, and changing. When we add the front press, we're gonna be pointed towards this rear leg knee. So there's going to probably be some twist in the spine that will help us drive this hip down. Front press, pull it in, transition one side to the other side, press over this knee, front press, transition, front press over this knee, transition, front press, transition, front press. Come back to neutral, set it down. That was our right hand on top. Think right hand high, right leg forward. Think right hand high, left leg forward. And you need to have an equal number with the other hand high. These are 4 different core firings. If you just do one, you will build holes into your ability to move. Let's go to the other side. Left hand closest to the tip of the club. Get it up any way you want that you don't get hurt. Stack to one side. Press over that rear leg knee. Drive the hip down. Verticalize the spine. Press. Pull the weight in. Transition to the other side. Press. Pull the weight in. Transition to the other side. Press. Pull the weight in. Transition to the other side. And press. Pull in. Transition back to center. The most common thing that people will do is they will go too heavy. Whatever your standing weight is, if you're standing front press with 25 pounds, you're gonna do this with at least 15 pounds. Think this exercise is 50 to 60% of your standing weight. The second thing people will do is they will get too much gap here and they will start to open this up. You can do this, but this is more of a modern dance position than it is a common everyday man's position. The point of the Shinbox is that you are getting good at bailing out of a squat when something goes wrong. This is the normal range of movement we need. When we start to push this out, this starts to become something that's called stag position in circus. It is very cool, but it is not necessary for normal people's hip mobility. Knee close, try and get that hip all the way down. The other thing that happens is the hand is not at the level of the nose. People will either press too low and compromise their wrist or lift up too high and start to arch their back. The goal for this exercise is rib cage down, abs on, hands pressed straight out in front, hand at the level of the nose. We pull the weight back. In the beginning, people will have to move their elbows in a bunch of interesting ways to figure out how to get to the other side. That's fine, it's all core work. When you press, that hand is at the level of the nose. Bring it in, transition. People will do what's called walking. They will not stay in the same spot when they are learning this exercise, or if they've been training really hard on doing squats or something and their hips are tight from training. They will hike this hip up in order to get to the position. That's fine. You will find yourself wandering around the room because as that hip lifts up and comes back down, you move a couple of inches. Totally fine. If you are an extremely advanced athlete and you focus on your hip mobility all the time, you will not move. You will stay in the exact same spot. That tends to be much easier for women. Their hips tend to be more mobile than men's hips. The stronger you are, the more deadlifting you've done, the more you're probably gonna walk around the room. The goal is to make the walking space smaller over time. Less walking with your hips means that your hips are functioning better. This exercise is absolutely incredible for guys who do wrestling martial arts because you will find these positions all the time in BJJ as you transition from one side to the other to your back and to the other side. There is a whole pantheon of these exercises specifically devoted to martial arts. Do you have to be a martial artist to do them? Absolutely not. The better your hips work, the better your shoulders work, the stronger your core is in all of these positions as you change the position of your hips, the stronger you get at absolutely everything in life. Instead of just doing barbell deadlifts and just lifting more weight, we are adding complexity and learning to be strong at all the places in between, all the places that you use in sport, all the positions that you use in wrestling. Everybody should train clubs, no matter what their age, no matter what their sport, at least twice a week from now until the day you die.